Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. Happy Pride Month. I got to admit, when I celebrate Pride, I'm just there for the party. I'm there for the good time. But tonight we're going to reflect on why Pride festivities exist, because inevitably someone asks, why does Pride need to be celebrated? Here to discuss, a Vancouver-based author and advocate dedicated to helping LGBTQ refugees find safe passage to Canada. His debut novel, The Clothesline Swing, was among the Globe and Mail's best books in 2017, and his recent book, Crooked Teeth, a queer Syrian refugee memoir, was a finalist for the Governor General's Award for Nonfiction. He is Danny Ramadan. Danny, hello, so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you again, Mo. Hi.
So, as I said, when I go to Pride, I'm there for the party. I'm there to celebrate. It's always a good time. Mm-hmm. But the origins of Pride are quite different, right?
Pride, in the way that we think about it right now, is originally started as a protest. So back in 1969, I want to say on June 28th, I might be missing a day or two, but on June 28th in 1969, Pride started in Stonewall. It was a bar for queer folks back there, mainly trans women. And Marsha P. Johnson was credited for being the first person to lead a protest that later we called Pride. The protest was mainly because the police had been raiding that bar over and over and over again, demanding queer folks not to hold hands, demanding trans people not to wear anything outside of their gender norms outfits, and arresting folks left, right, and center, really. So the protest started in 1969 over there, and then spread across Canada, and got found its way to Toronto in 1970.
Wow, and that's why we have Pride Month in June, because it's with
Pride
this protest,
Month.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I want to get back to the police thing in a second, but. Obviously, Pride now is, seen as a celebration, but is there still an activist element to Pride festivities?
I think that Pride could be so many different things. Some folks think of Pride as their ability to just be at home with their partner, enjoying a glass of wine on a Sunday afternoon. Other folks think of Pride as a place to advocate for all of the sub-communities that are under the LGBTQ2S alphabet mafia kind of slogan, which is amazing because there are so many different folks finding that Pride is their way to advocate for their own specific gender or sexual identity. And Pride can also be a party, folks wanting to go to a club and spend the night to the rhythm of the music, dancing and feeling proud of who they are. And I think that all of those expressions of Pride are completely valid. They are all meaningful to the folks who participate in them, and they reflect the identities of this massive community in one way or another.
So what I'm hearing is there's no wrong way to celebrate Pride, and even as a cis hetero person, you can still celebrate Pride in many different ways.
Absolutely. I think that specifically the Pride Parade is a space for folks who are allies, who are supportive, like yourself, of queer and trans folks and two-spirit folks to come down and show that allyship. Because the bigger the numbers of people showing up to that mainstream event, the bigger the message it is to the mainstream society that, yes, we are valid as a community, and look at all of those other allies showing up to show support. I think that in itself is a way for the het cis community, specifically men, specifically white folks, to come in and show their support to the community at large, but also to all of the sub-communities that live underneath it.
Now, you said specifically white folks. Explain that to me. Why make that distinction in terms of white folks?
I like that. I think it's really important to recognize the hierarchy of the society that we live in. We disagree with the hierarchy. The hierarchy is bad, but at the same time, it does exist. And in the current way of looking at hierarchy, folks of a certain racial identity, white folks, a certain educational level, folks who are more educated, a certain economical level, folks who have more money, those folks stand at the top of that hierarchical pyramid, right? And those folks have a lot more voice to give when it comes to supporting communities that are underrepresented in that hierarchy, right? So when I say that someone like a white person, like a white man, has to show a white heterosexual cis man, I guess, has to show his voice. I'm not saying that he's not doing his part. I'm just saying that his voice has a lot more power than my voice in this conversation.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's basically this conversation around general privileges or how we understand them.
Yeah, and when we talk about privilege, a lot of times we talk about it as check your privilege, as if it's a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Privileges exist in the community, and when I'm hanging out with all of my male friends, who most of them happen to be white, I'm less privileged than some of them. But if I'm hanging out with my non-binary friend, my female friends, then suddenly I have more privilege than them. So privilege in itself is very fluid in a way. So I think checking the privilege here is not in a bad way. It's not telling someone you're bad for having privilege. It's telling someone you have this privilege. This is how the society is structured, and you can use that power to uplift everybody else.
Interesting. Now let's go back to the Stonewall uprising, the origins of Pride.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a protest against the police. So I know you're not speaking for all LGBTQ folks, but generally it brings up this interesting conversations about the inclusion or exclusion of police departments in Pride festivities. What is the general feeling? What's your take in terms of where the police fit in these festivities?
So this is a very nuanced point. And it's really important that we listen to the whole argument and look at it from all different perspectives. I do genuinely think that the police have a lot to answer to when it comes to their role historically and up until now in holding a specific pressure on the LGBTQ two-spirit community. Specifically when we bring in the intersectionality of being brown or being black, for example. And we're seeing right now the police in LA using their power against the citizens themselves. That is something that we're seeing. So that shows that hierarchy, that the police have more power than the majority of the people who are from marginalized communities. So yes, definitely the police have to answer to that power. At the same time, and I will say this with as much nuance as I can, we are at a point where we are on the left so divided. We have faced a lot of cancel culture between ourselves. We have alienated communities from other communities. We have pushed people around and got us to a point where we feel fractured. On the other side, when we're talking about the Trumps of the world, they have an umbrella that is so large. They welcome deranged billionaires, and they welcome, seriously, and they welcome the KKK, and they welcome anybody who would come in and vote for them, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody is questioned when they fall under the Trump umbrella. So there is power in unity. And I'm not saying the police shouldn't answer for the privilege that they have, but there are meaningful ways that the police can participate in Pride, meaningful in a way, for example, where Pride parades do not pay for police officers to bring security and safety to Pride. For example, it is a well-known fact that Pride parade societies across Canada, in some places in Canada, actually pay for the officers, for the police to come in and bring security to the Pride parades. And I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that that's fair. I think if you want to be part of the Pride parade, that is totally a possibility. I just think that you should show the actions first for us to be able to have that unity. And we are seeking that unity. I would like to see all of us on the left, all of us who have power, to work together towards a more inclusive, more diverse world. But I think that there are steps to be made, meaningful steps to be made to see that come to life.
Fascinating. Danny, I feel very illuminated. I feel like we've opened up a can of worms of conversation here that I think will continue to go on, but I'll leave it at this. Happy Pride, and thanks so much for your time tonight.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Folks, when I started This is VANCOLOUR as a podcast, he was my third ever guest. That was 7 years ago. So a long time coming to finally have him on This is VANCOLOUR, the TV talk show here on CHEK. Please make sure you pick up his incredible books. He is Danny Ramadan. Now, after some business, Juno Award-winning comedian Jacob Samuel returns to the show to share marriage hacks to be attempted at your own risk. Up next.